Let's take you back to our main story we've been following, and Libyan authorities now saying they're planning a secret burial for the former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. This, of course, after he died following the fall of his home city, Sirte, which is where our correspondent, Tony Birtley, is currently located. We can go to him now. You were there all throughout the developments of yesterday, Tony. How are things looking now? Is Sirte completely secured and in the hands of the NTC?
It seems to be completely secure and in their hands, but I'm actually standing, Sammy, in a place here where you mentioned about a secret burial for Gaddafi. Well, I'm at the location where the followers who were going out with him have left dead here. Their bodies are scattered over this entire area, and we're getting an idea now what happened where they try to make their breakout. You can see behind me these are burnt out vehicles, and all behind me there's littered with bodies, basically petrified corpses sitting at the wheels of their cars. And it seems that the final coup de grace here was delivered by NATO as these men try to escape. And we now worked out that there was three main groups coming out with Gaddafi. Main group here behind me, probably with Gaddafi, another group over there, and one more group down there. And it seems that early hours of yesterday, at first light, they came and broke out of the city. The central city district number 2 is about 2 kilometers from here. They came and encountered heavy fire, then came down this road. And this is where NATO, we are told, struck with such force that it's left these charred vehicles and charred bodies behind me. We've counted something like 50 bodies in total, something like 20 vehicles. And we get an idea now what happened. Gaddafi, we were told from here, ran away to about 80 meters, 100 meters down there to a culvert underneath this road, and that's where he was found. We are told by a number of people we have spoken to he was very much alive then. According to human rights investigators, Gaddafi was taken. He was then he was beaten, he was kicked, he was put on the bonnet of a vehicle, driven down the road. He fell off that and hurt himself, and then he was put in the back of the vehicle and driven off. We're told at that point he was not wounded. Of course, we've been told that on the way to Misrata he died, and that may be as a result of crossfire. But according to human rights investigators, they're questioning that account of what happened. But down here, all the bodies suggest that there was also something else going on, because according to the human rights investigators, particularly the place behind me here, show the signs of what they say is execution. And they want the NTC to launch an investigation into this. They want them to check exactly what happened on that morning when Gaddafi was taken. They say he was very much alive, and they're questioning the version being given by the NTC that he was killed in crossfire.
All right, so some question marks there over the official version of events of Gaddafi's death. What about the fate of some of the key figures who apparently managed to get away so far, like Saif al-Islam? How much concern is there over his fate?
Well, there's a big question marks about where he is. They've never had a direct sighting for him, unlike most of the others. I think the hunt will be on to try and find him. The odds are that he's probably in the south of the country, but you never know here. We did think until a few days ago that Gaddafi was not here. In fact, he was in the south of the country. That was the version the NTC gave, and they said he was showing up on satellite tracking. That turned out to be totally incorrect. So we don't know. I mean, a lot of the main players in his regime came to grief here, and this was their final resting point, and this is where the whole thing ended. We're seeing people coming up now and treating it like some kind of a holiday venue. They're taking photographs, they're posing for souvenir snaps, and for them, of course, it's completely different. The fighters I have spoken to don't seem to care whether Gaddafi was executed or caught in crossfire. They care that he is dead, and they say now he's dead, they can actually move on and build their new Libya. With him being alive, they think that they couldn't have done that. So it's for them, you know, it's a double-edged sword. For them, it's important. For the rest of the world, they'll say, well, maybe he shouldn't have been executed if indeed he was. But there are lots of question marks, and the investigations that will be launched, at the end of the day, I don't think will make much difference. But, you know, in terms of clarity, in terms of transparency, they need to know what really happened on Thursday morning.
Talking about the new Libya, Tony, there is a question, of course, of the situation that prevails now. Are people trying to take revenge? How much control is there? What happens to the Gaddafi loyalists who are left? Is there an amnesty and so on?
Well, we don't know about that. I know the NTC is saying there should not be revenge and retribution. That's been the theme all the way along. But you're dealing with people who've been engaged in battle, with people who've lost their friends, their loved ones, and anger takes a long time to subside. So there are some, I think, who want revenge, and we have spoken to people who said that they know of those people. By and large, we have seen that ourselves personally. We have seen prisoners being taken and paraded in the streets. We have seen signs of physical abuse, and they have been taken off. We don't know where to. There are a number of bodies, we understand, being prepared for burial. We don't know the circumstances in which they died, but you've got to understand this was a pretty brutal conflict. The last 13 days was pretty horrific in terms of the amount of firepower that came down, and spirits were running very high, and emotions, I think that's the key here. The emotions were running high also, and people were pumped up, and they've been waiting for this moment for 8 months, and finally here it was. So I think maybe some people could have lost control. It's normal sometimes in those circumstances. I think now the NTC has got to rein in that kind of need for revenge and retribution, and also I think they've got to rein in the amount of weapons that are at large. I mean, this country was awash with weaponry. Gaddafi equipped his country beyond their needs, and everywhere you went in this country you found huge ammunition dumps, which was part of the downfall of Gaddafi in the end as well. But all these groups, and some say some with different agendas, are armed to the teeth. Now the question is, can the NTC rein them all in, bring them under the umbrella of a national army, and get that army to control all the weapons? If they can't do that, it poses problems for the future.
All right, Tony Birtley, I guess time will tell. Thanks so much for that. Live from Sirte.